now. Good evening. I'm Kim Weaver, and I'm your host and moderator for tonight. Just want to take a moment to welcome you to your route for retirement, your route to retirement. This is a financial empowerment webinar being done in collaboration with two fine agencies. We're JP Financial Group and Crown Jewel Financial Services. So again, tonight we're just gathered to share principles of wealth, entrepreneurship, and retirement. That's really the power in our financial empowerment webinars. And tonight we are focusing on retirement. We know that's a big issue right now, and many of you have gathered tonight just to hear more insights to help you plan your route for retirement. So again, we're glad to have you here. This is a two-part presentation. The webinar itself and the presentation will last about 35 minutes. We'll plan for about 10 minutes of Q&A. And then we do have a special offer that will just be discussed more at the end, just for you attending today. And I want you to stick around and listen for that, because that is a very valuable opportunity that we want to present you with. And secondly, the second part of this agenda tonight is a one-on-one discovery session, and that's really for you to meet one-on-one with one of our presenters, whether it's a 15-minute phone call to discuss questions about your current retirement plans, or if you're needing more comprehensive support and or review, or to start a retirement plan. So we want to make that available for you and encourage you to take advantage of that. And so again, tonight we're talking about retirement. We're talking about some of the roadblocks and obstacles that may impact your route to retirement. And we believe by you being more informed of some of those particular obstacles or roadblocks, the more informed you are about those in advance, the better you can plan and prepare for that and not have the negative impacts that so many people experience. So again, this is about a 45-minute presentation and discussion. It is meant to be interactive, so you have a Q&A box down below. We encourage you to use that. If you have questions as we're going throughout the presentation, go ahead and type your question in there. And again, when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll pull out some of those questions to discuss here in the webinar. And if we don't get to your question, or if other questions come up later, feel free to use that as an opportunity to go ahead and schedule that 15-minute call or that comprehensive follow-up just to get your questions answered. As I mentioned, again, we do have a special offer, and that is a complimentary retirement roadmap that is personalized just for you and your financial concerns. And this is something that will be very valuable to you as you're planning your route to retirement. So we'll make more details available on that when we get to the end of the presentation so that you can take full advantage of that. So again, this is a collaborative presentation and webinar. We have two speakers on tonight, Joyce Palmer with JP Financial Group and Sean Weaver of Crown Jewel Financial Services. So if you would, go ahead, if you don't already, take out a notepad, pen, paper, and get ready to take notes. I'm going to turn this over to our two presenters, let them introduce themselves, and we'll proceed with the webinar.
Great. Thanks, Kim. This is Joyce Palmer. It was actually 20 years ago today that I found myself in a very uncomfortable financial situation, faced with loved ones, a loved one rather, in a health crisis. I was feeling financially illiterate. I was afraid of making the wrong financial choices for my family. It was then I made the decision. I wanted to learn how really works. I took on a journey to find out exactly what financial vehicles the wealthy used, and more importantly, how to use and apply those financial principles to build financial independence for me and my family. I am passionate about working with ladies, men too, that are in the red zone and want to create a happy and sustainable environment. I am most proud, though, of being the mother to my beautiful and talented daughter, Jana. I am delighted and honored to be here with you tonight. And I'm honored to be teaming up with Sean Weaver to bring you the Route to Retirement webinar.
Awesome, awesome, Joyce. And I'm actually glad to be here with you as well. I'm Sean Weaver of Crown Jewel Financial Services. And really over the past decade, I've helped hundreds of families to build and preserve their wealth, not just for today, but for future generations to come. I actually entered the financial service industry because after 16 plus years in ministry, I came to understand how much finances really impacted people emotionally and spiritually. And I've seen how greater access to financial tools and education can provide more security and peace of mind. And so I really enjoy helping my clients and people create intergenerational wealth. And in turn, my clients help me live out my own destiny, to be a good steward of my time and my talents that I've been given. And so when I'm not working or preaching or mentoring or teaching financial education, you'll find me on the golf course or playing some basketball or road cycling with my wife of 27 years, Kim Weaver, who is our moderator. And today together, we have 4 young adult children. 2 are actually in college and 2 have just graduated. And so again, we just thank you for this opportunity tonight to spend some time with you. Your time is valuable and you could have used it anyway, but you've chosen this tonight. And we pray that it'll be a blessing to you.
Okay, we do have a disclosure, so if we could pause for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, the information that we're going to share today is general in nature and is for educational purposes only. Although we will be discussing tax strategies and may include legal terms, we are not CPAs nor attorneys. You are encouraged to consult your tax advisor and/or attorney. Thank you for allowing the pause for the disclosure. We are ready to go.
All right. Well, let's just go ahead and jump in on your route to retirement. All right. Let's face it. The road to retirement is long, rough, and rocky. I've heard that song a time or two. And it's not easy, and many won't make their dreams a reality because there are lots of obstacles in the way and unexpected turns. A lot of things happen, potholes, road closures, storms. All of these things are actually things that will prevent you from reaching your destination. And our job is to provide empowering insights to help you navigate your route to retirement that you deserve as well as desire. And so during the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about picking your destination, knowing your course, and creating a strategy. And then once the strategy is established, we have to understand something, that the obstacles and potholes that may exist along the way, and we need to still, even with those potholes, cross the finish line by doing our best to eliminate or at least mitigating those risks. Okay, and when we're done with this particular presentation, we want each of you to be able to leave with the confidence of knowing that we can help you make your retirement dreams a reality. All right, so let's talk about picking your destination. Now, this is the first topic, and it's really very brief because everyone on this call have different goals. It's kind of like if I ask you where you want to spend your summer vacation, what destination, I don't know how many, there's quite a few people on here, but it'll probably be as many people on here, that many different destinations, because everyone has different ideas of where they want to spend their retirement. And as coaches, it's our job to help you really set those goals. You know, some of you may look at, the classic scenario where you play golf every day. I might like that. Or play cards at night. Or some of you may want to keep working or travel, half the year. Or some may want to just spend time with the grandkids. It's not our job to tell you what you want. Our job is to help you create a financial strategy to get to what you want, right? So today's focus is not going to be on really setting goals for you or really creating a strategy. That's something that we'll do individually. And that's why I want to encourage you to make sure you sign up for just a conversation so that we can talk about things like, what do you want in retirement? When do you want to retire? You know, what's really important to you? And overall, we need to paint a real picture of what you want retirement to look like for you. Okay. And so once we've done that, you know, once we've found out what the destination is, the next step is to map out how to get you where you want to go. But you also still have to always consider things that may stand in your way, right? Some of these obstacles that have been around for hundreds of years, and then there's some new ones, some brand new headwinds that our parents and our grandparents, they didn't have to worry about. And so we'll have to dig a little deeper about that. And so Joyce, can you talk about those traditional roadblocks and things that have been around?
Absolutely. So I'll take a few minutes, guys, and kind of dive into talking about some of the traditional long-standing obstacles that have existed forever and helping you navigate through your retirement. We're going to first talk about living longer, the longevity risk. Then I'll touch on the market risk. And then lastly, I'm going to finish up with the good old inflation risk. So first, let's talk about people are living longer. We simply are than any other generation. Through the advancements in medicine and technology, we're able to prolong our lives. So the bottom line is we must plan for longer periods in retirement. It's a long-term play. Many cases, many of us will spend more years in retirement than we actually did working. So we have to plan for longevity, and we have to understand that longevity is also a multiplier, meaning the longer you live, the more likely you're going to see market ups and downs. The longer you live, the more likely you're going to see the effects of inflation. For an example, on a personal note, my late grandmother, she lived to 104, and she was in her right mind, as she put it. My mom was 89. And I was reading last week that the oldest living American is right here in our hometown of Charlotte. 115 years she celebrated.
How old?
115.
Wow.
So let's look at the stats. Let's see what your chances are living 115. The stats say for men who make it to age 65, there's a 50% chance that they'll live to age 89. And then there's a 25% chance that they're going to live to age 94. And for us ladies, yes, ladies, we do have a longer lifespan. Sorry, Sean, these are the stats.
That's
right?
just not right.
So for ladies, if you reach the age 65, there's a 50% chance that you'll live to age 90. And then there's a 25% chance that you will go on to live to age 96. So the takeaway here is that we have to plan for our money to last longer. We got to take in consideration long-term care and healthcare expenses. We have to look at how much money will we need to maintain the desired lifestyle and retirement that we want. The goal is we have to take longevity risk off the table. Okay. The next risk that we're going to kind of discuss a little bit is that market risk. So market risk, this is one that's been around forever and will always be around. It is a traditional risk that we really have very little control over. I mean, if you look at it, we've been on a roller coaster ride here for the last couple of years, coming off of the longest bull market ever in history, and then being hit last year with a pandemic that brought the market literally to its knees. The deal here is that you can't control the market, but you can mitigate some of the risk by understanding that it's not a bad thing to be in the market, and depending on where you are in your route, the market may be the best place. But if you're in the red zone and you're closing in on your target retirement date, then it is too dangerous for you to be playing around in the market and putting your future income monies at risk. So when you look at the market trends, it's not if, but when. Maybe every 4-8 years, you'll see a shift. But unless you have a crystal ball, you can't time the market. Crashes and corrections are going to happen. We just have to know how to position and hedge the market ups and downs using things like the rule of 100. And I know Kim told you guys to take some notes. So if the rule of 100 is a note take, the rule of 100 is used to protect at least a portion of your future income by shifting it into vehicles like annuities and like low risk investments. So if you're not familiar with that rule and how it works, that's a good chance, a good opportunity to take that call with us so we can talk about how the rule of 100 can work for you. This piece of the market that we really have to focus on is timing. Timing is everything. We need to know about market and mitigating the risks and understanding how that timing plays a role. Timing is everything. It can have a dramatic effect on how long your retirement nest egg can last. So let's take an example, case study here. So we've got two people. We're going to call them Bill and Jill. In this example, we have both of them have accumulated $1 million in their retirement portfolio. So they've done a great job at I call the accumulation phase. And now they're getting ready to go into the distribution phase. They're looking to take money out of their portfolio. They've got the same investment strategy, the same returns, and they're looking to make the same withdrawals, about $40,000 a year. And we're going to by 3% to factor in inflation. Yet, depending on when they start to take those withdrawals and what the market is doing at the time when they take those withdrawals, can mean the difference in reaching the finish line strong versus possibly running out of money. So let's look at Jack. Jack retires in 1996. Jack retires in an up market. He also starts to take his withdrawals in an up market. Jill, on the other hand, unluckily timing, she retires 3 years, just 3 years after Jack. And in Jill's case, she starts taking her withdrawals in a downside market. And she starts making those withdrawals when the market is down. That's a difference of over $1 million. Jack finishes strong with a portfolio that grows, while Jill's portfolio takes a big hit and she runs the risk of running out of money. The takeaway here is you cannot time the market. You just can't do it. And then the last risk that we're going to hit on, that is a traditional risk, that's been around forever, is good old-fashioned inflation. So I took it upon myself the cost of a gallon of milk in 1964, which just happens to be the year that I was born. It was 36 cents. That same gallon of milk today is $3.59. Unless, of course, we know better now, right? Organic is better. It would be $4. And what about this shiny, sporty GT Mustang? In 1968, you could have drove off in that car for $3,067. And today, the same car, well, not quite really the same car, because the new model has more upgrades, bells and whistles. But that car today is $44,855. That's the impact of inflation. Now, what about our money? When we have to look at our monies and inflation, we have to be careful not to underestimate the effects of inflation, like having your money in low rate savings, CDs, or worse, under your mattress. Well, you'll say, Joyce, my money is safe. I'm protecting my principal. And I would say, yes, I agree. It's protecting your principal, but it's not keeping up with inflation. Therefore, you are still losing purchasing power. It's like having that shiny, pretty GT Mustang just sitting in a driveway. You still can't get to your destination unless it's moving. So inflation is something that can sneak up on you if you're not careful. Some of those traditional inflation market and longer are some of the traditional obstacles that we know. So if you have questions, guys, about how to navigate some of those traditional obstacles, I encourage you to take advantage of that 15-minute strategy call that Kim mentioned and get a game plan to address those obstacles. And now Sean's going to actually share with you ones that you really need to be concerned about, the new ones.
Sure, we need to be concerned, man. That's crazy. That inflation, that bread. Well, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to leave that alone. So, we've been accounting for, those traditional obstacles for over the last 100 years, Joyce. And like you said, now we have the new obstacles that this particular generation and future generations will have to contend with. Things like Social Security uncertainties, the diminishing pensions, and really a compounding debt problem that could be passed on to us as American citizens through additional taxations. And so I think it's important to cover all these particular things. And so I know this is not news to anybody regarding Social Security, but it may not be here as a lifeline as it was for our previous generations. I mean, I don't know, but really the program was started in 1934, 1935, and it was never intended to be a retirement account. It was never intended to be 30, 40, or 50% of a person's retirement. Plus you think of the life expectancies in 1935 was a whole lot less than they are today. People actually lived about 2 to 5 years after retirement. And today, people, as you said, are living 15, 20, 30 plus years in retirement, right? And so really the biggest problem to the system is now these baby boomers are retiring now every day. They said 10,000 or so. I mean, they're retiring in droves, and it's just not enough people funding the system. And so they wasn't anticipating people living long, and they wasn't anticipating the lack of solvency. And so in order for us to continue to have Social Security, I'm not sure if it's going to be gone or not, but in order to keep the solvency that we have, we're going to have to either do one or two things. We're going to have to tax payroll with an increase of about 16%, or lower the benefits. Now think about that. If Social Security is 30, 40, 50, 60% of your retirement income, and you're about to lose 28% or whatever benefits, what will that do to your retirement? What does that do to your plan? And so we've got to really think long and hard about saving additional money. We can't necessarily depend on Social Security, but not only can we not depend on Social Security, we can't depend on pensions. Right? Actually, pensions have been a solid foundation of many people for many years. In fact, people would literally stay on jobs that they didn't like for 30 and 40 years just to get that pension, right? But today, most of Americans, it's not available. Less than 14% of US corporations don't even have pension plans. Or less than 14% of corporations only have pension plans. So if you have one, you're blessed. Somebody need to give you a hug, right? But if you don't have a pension plan, and you know that Social Security is kind of shaky, that means you're going to have to do something to fill in the gap, and creating your own personal retirement savings or company plan. And so, the government was strategic. They did a systematic move from pensions to 401ks, right? So now you have to be responsible for your retirement, not your company or not the government. And so, but the problem with the 401ks, I mean, they're awesome. And if you're not doing it, you need to participate in your company's plan. But the real issue with that is it's a tax deferred plan, meaning you don't have to pay taxes now, but you're going to have to pay taxes. And so you're going to have to factor that in as it relates to your route to retirement. And personally, you know, I believe taxes are one of the biggest obstacles with retirement. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. With the U.S. national debt just over $23 trillion as of February of 2020 last year, you have to ask yourself this question. With this much debt increasing every year, are taxes going to go up or are taxes going to go down in the future? Right? Absolutely, Joyce, up. And if you believe they're going to go up, then when you want to have a strategy to minimize this as much as possible once you're in your retirement years. And so that's what we're talking about. Let's have a 15-minute strategy session to help you mitigate taxes as well, because that's a major important piece when it comes to your retirement. Winston Churchill said, we contend that for a nation to try to tax itself into prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle. It's actually ludicrous, right? So I just want to dig just a little deeper into this issue, just to see if you all were paying attention. I can't see your faces, so I just need to see. What is our current stated national debt? We said 23 trillion, right? And that is only a real number if the government stops spending now. And Joyce already told you, the government is not going to stop spending. Some of you all just got your COVID check. So, and thank God, I mean, because people need this, right? So, but somebody's going to have to pay for it, right? Every living person in the US would owe, at this rate of 23 trillion, $70,000, right? This is crazy. And so we're talking about $23 trillion. But the reality is, just as of today, the national debt is $28 trillion. Today, it's growing at a rate of $100,000 per second almost. And the average debt per citizen is about $85,000. So we're talking about trillions. Let's forget about the huge number of 23 trillion or even 28 trillion, which is crazy. Let's just take a look at how big just 1 trillion is. Okay, 1 trillion seconds ago, 1 trillion seconds ago would have been over 30,000 years ago. 30,000 years ago. And that's just 1 trillion. And we're talking about 27 times that. So it's crazy. The debt is crazy. And as a result, Joyce, what's going to happen?
Well, you know, I'm trying to get my head around those numbers. That's huge. So there's 2 ways they tell us we can handle the debt. We can spend less, or we can tax more. So the question to the audience, I believe, is more realistic. Obviously, I don't know. We're not CPAs, we're not attorneys, nor do we have a crystal ball. But we all know and agree that the evidence is pointing in a direction that taxes will be going up. And we're hearing that taxes are on sale. And if you think about it, we really have no choice but to look at more taxes. You just heard, like you said, the trillions of dollars of debt that we're in, and that number is steadily climbing. So between those 2 options, again, if you ask yourself, which one do you think we're going to do? Spend less or tax more? If we look at some of the new tax laws, and there are a lot of new tax laws that have been out there. Some of them got kind of hidden a little bit last year with all the craziness going on, but some of those most recent tax laws reduced tax rates. They reduced tax rates to some of the lowest rates it's ever been in a while. They also reduced the corporate tax rates, and they lowered the individual tax rates. So essentially, taxes are on sale right now. What do I mean by that? Well, 2018, that tax law that went in effect 2018 is due to sunset or go away in 2025. I don't know where they're going to go when it goes away, but I have a really good idea, right? I would suggest we have a short window of time to capitalize on these tax come 2025, or it could be sooner, because you do know Congress does not have to check with you to make sure if they want to change the rates, right? They don't have to check with us.
That's right.
They can do it literally tomorrow. So the question I asked is that, does it make sense to keep filling up those tax me later buckets, like your 401k, like your IRAs? Or perhaps now is a good time to look at some alternative options, where you can get the tax liability out of the way now versus holding on to it for later. So when you look at tax rate historically, if we start talking about history does repeat itself. Looking at the past and what the past has taught us, if you go all the way back to the inception of income taxes in 1913, the funny thing is when income taxes first became in existence, Sean, Congress made a promise with the American people. They said, you know what, we're only going to tax the wealthy, right? It's only going to be a temporary period of time, so some 100 years later, temporary, and it's only going to be 7%. So all that for the promise, right?
Right.
If you look at the peaks and the valleys and the highs and the lows and the tax rates, 80, 90%, can you imagine for every $100 that you make, you're splitting over half of it with Uncle Sam? Tax rates are hovering right now around 37%. It is a historical low. So that's why we keep saying and we keep hearing that taxes are on sale. So what's your strategy to take advantage of that? If you don't have a strategy, how will you maximize your current tax laws? This is a time-sensitive move. It's a window of opportunity that you don't want to miss. So again, it's another opportunity to take that 15-minute strategy call. We can kind of discuss some options, because there may be some things you can do right now to hedge off some of those tax liabilities for later. The next piece of the market and understanding taxes and debt is our spending. And, you know, I'm still trying to whack around $28 trillion. So that's a lot. And the government is definitely probably going to continue to spend. It is realistic. It's unrealistic to expect the government to stop spending. The spending was already off the charts before the pandemic. Debt now coupled with the recovery from the devastating effects of COVID-19, our debt and spending will definitely skyrocket. So you go back to that question, do you think we're going to spend less or tax more? And if you look at financial experts, so you don't have to take our word for it. If you look at financial experts, overwhelmingly, they agree that we're going to spend more and we're going to. David Walker, who is a former U.S. comptroller for the United States, says the fastest growing expense is in the federal government is interest. Yeah. Within 10 years, we could be paying more for interest than we are on our national debt. So the question is, you want to ask yourself, do you still need to, go the same route, or maybe you need to try traditional or an alternative strategy? And that's what Sean's going to talk about, some different routes. Wow.
I mean, Joyce, that's a lot to think about, and hopefully it's not too overwhelming for you all. We've talked about all of these obstacles, the traditional obstacles, the new ones, all these different nuances. So in the midst of all of this, what's the plan? What's your strategy? There are a lot of options and strategies to tackle market risk, right? We can mitigate the market a little bit to outpace inflation. There's some strategies out there, and there are other strategies out there for most of these risks. But the risk of taxes rising is something we need to be really, really strategic about. So let's look at some things that we need to do as it relates with our allocations. So when you start talking about allocating your assets, they will traditionally fall in one of the three buckets that Joyce was talking about: your taxable, your tax deferred, or your tax free. So here's the question, right? Between now and when you retire, or between now and you needing these assets, do you really believe income taxes will be higher or lower? Now I really need to see some faces. I wish I could, because I know what you're thinking. You're saying it's going to be higher, right? So if you believe taxes will be higher and you have a choice to receive funds or assets, would you prefer them to be taxed, tax deferred, or tax free, right?
Free.
Tax free every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Now, the question is, how much of your current retirement portfolio today will not be subject to income tax when you need it? The reality is most of our assets are below the red line, right? So the first option is your simple taxable money. This money is inside your financial vehicles where you pay income taxes or capital gains on earnings every year, right? The second option is, the tax deferred option. And this is what most of us are used to. You put your money in prior to taxes, and then your money grows tax deferred. And then when you need the money the most, when the house is paid off, the kids are gone, and all your deductions are gone, now you get hit with taxes, right? But these are some good options. But too much of your retirement assets allocated to tax deferred vehicles can be a detriment, as they may be heavily taxed in the future. And we don't know what the future holds, but we can see what the indications show, right? So we have to consider that. But if I want to finish this retirement race strong on my route to retirement, I need to cross the finish line to a tax-free retirement, which brings me really to the third option. And the third option is the tax-free, which everybody wants. And this financial vehicles basically are the ones that are purchased with after-tax dollars, right? And so there are three types of options in that particular area. Municipal bonds, which most people are not really familiar with. It's an inverse relationship with interest rates and things of that nature. And a lot of times they've gone into default and different things of that nature. And then we have the Roth Ira, and I have quite a few clients that we put them in a Roth Ira, which is a great way. They put their money in after taxes, and then it grows, and they take it out tax-free. But there are some stipulations. There's some income stipulations. There are some deduction stipulations. You can't take your money out before you're 59 and a half without a penalty. You've got to allow your money to stay in there 5 years before you use it, or there's some penalties as well. So you just have to really be mindful of really what that's all about. But the other one is life insurance. Now, this is huge, the cash value life insurance. And I'm saying life insurance. Everybody said, don't talk about life insurance because people, man, listen, life insurance is the foundation for building intergenerational wealth. And wealthy people know it. 60% of all wealth transfers is through the strategic and tactical placement of life insurance, right? And the reason they're doing it is because obviously the death benefit will self-complete your portfolio. You have $1 million policy and you die, your trust is good, your people are good. But beyond that, the potential for tax-deferred growth and accumulation without market risk, without penalties for taking it out, that's huge. And it's an income tax-free policy. And if you structure it right, you can take it out via loans. And not to mention living benefits. We're talking about long-term care. So we have plenty of things that we can talk about to help you. If you have a terminal illness, the doctor says you have years or less to live, you can access your money. You have a chronic illness, you can't do 2 out of the 6 living daily functions, you can access your money. If you have cancer, heart attack, or stroke, how many of us know someone in our family who's still living with one of these critical illnesses? How about having some extra funds to help with that or with your critical illness? This is the power of cash value life insurance. You get the upside of the market, but downside protection. Let's show you the power of what indexing is. This is what's really funding your cash value life insurance. If you had $100,000 in the market, the orange line is the S&P, the blue line is the index strategy we're talking about. You see in 1999, the market went up and you were doing well. And then 2000, 2001, 2002 hit. People lost a whole lot of money. That 100,000, 119 or whatever that is, I can't really see it, went to $75,000. But on the blue line, you just stayed the same. You never have to come out of a hole. You never have to dig out of a hole. And so now it took, if you were retiring in 1999, it took you 8 years to get back to your original place of retirement, only to see the market crashes in 2008 because of the mortgage crisis. Now, if you look at 2008, the orange line, and look at the difference of the blue line, which line would you want to be on, right? And so Joyce just talked about it. We're in the largest or longest bull market in the history of the market. And we see it almost caught up in 2019, but March 31st, this time last year, it took another hit. So ask yourself, which line would you want to be on? The line that you never have to dig out of a hole, your profits are always reset and never go below each year. You lock those profits in the previous year's gains. This is another strategy that we need to really consider as we diversify that taxation bucket, okay? So we said a whole lot, but we want to access your route. Let's look at some things. All right, let's ask some questions. Do you want to rely on the government to get you through your retirement? Absolutely not, because we don't know what they're going to do next, right? But I love my government. I'm a proud patriot. I just want you to know, hallelujah, glory. Do you prefer to pay taxes on the seed, or do you prefer to pay taxes on the harvest? These are some things that you have to start looking at and processing. Can you time the market, as Joyce asked? Can you time the market to protect your assets? No, you don't have a crystal ball, neither do I. So we have to have some strategies in place, and we can help you with those strategies to put them in place so that you won't have these particular roadblocks. And even if you do, you can mitigate them in your route to retirement.
Wow. I definitely don't want to rely on the government for my retirement. And I'm a patriot too, yes. But seriously, guys, we have discussed and covered quite a bit. We have talked about major roadblocks. We've talked about financial risks, some of the traditional ones, some of the new risks, all in the gist of how to prepare yourself for better retirement. In any retirement journey, the key is not trying to go at it by yourself, right? Trying to go at it alone is not the way. As a financial professional and as financial professionals, we help our clients navigate these risks every single day. That's what we do, right? We can help you build a retirement income strategy. That income strategy is designed to address all of the financial risks that we discussed today, whether it includes addressing taxation, which if you haven't heard that enough, I know you've definitely heard that enough, but even optimizing Social Security benefits. I mean, Social Security may or may not be the same by the time you're ready to retire. So understanding how to maximize your Social Security benefits, reviewing and addressing market volatility, whether you are excited and happy and want to be in the market, or whether you're scared to death and want to get out of the market. Either way, we are prepared to help you build that. Our goal is to build a customized retirement strategy. And I say customized because Sean mentioned it early. Each one of you may have a different destination. If you asked everyone on the call, where you want to retire and what retirement looks like, you're going to get a variety of different things. So the goal is you need to have a customized retirement strategy that's built based on your time horizons, based on your income goals. One person may need $3,000 to be comfortable. Another person may need $30,000 a month to be comfortable. We're going to talk about your risk tolerance and your appetite for market ups and downs. Last, but certainly not least, remember that you could definitely be preparing a plan to last you for another 50 years. Really, you could be that 115-year-old. So that's a good reminder that retirement is a long-term prospect. You must keep your long-term prospective goals in mind. And as trusted financial professionals, Sean and I can help you keep your emotions in check. And that's important. And I know, ladies, sometimes our emotions go there, right? But we want to keep our emotions in check and not fall victim to the latest news cycle. We're here to help you keep your eye on the ball and help you navigate these obstacles to retirement. So let's talk about the next step. What I need you to do right now, there is a link in your chat box. So if you could go ahead right now and click on to that link, and it's also up on the screen. But if you could go ahead and click that link, we want to walk through together while Kim is actually pulling together some of the questions, because I kept seeing questions populating.
Yeah.
There are lots of questions and some good ones, I'm sure. While Kim is populating the questions, Sean, let's walk through that questionnaire and kind of talk about that a little bit, or what's on that questionnaire. So the first part of it on that questionnaire is you want to take some time. I covered that part. So let's kind of go through the questionnaire.
Yeah. So are you confident your savings will withstand a 25 to 30-year retirement? I think you just kind of talked about that. You're living longer. Will your money outlive you, or will you outlive your money? Okay. Right. Do you have a plan to combat inflation? Inflation is hovering around 3.75% and growing. Can your money outpace inflation? Do you have an alternative income source not tied to the market to offset the sequence of returns that Joyce talked about? See, we talked about diversification. We need to be diverse in our taxation as well. Are you confident that your Social Security benefits are optimized for yourself and your spouse? We need to talk about these things. And lastly, do you have a tax allocation strategy to help minimize the impact of taxes during retirement? I have clients that come in, they want to do a rollover, they have $500,000 to $600,000, and they get hit with a 30% tax. That's $180,000 just gone to taxes. And you want to know why people outlive their money in retirement? Because the government is taking. But I'm not getting emotional. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joyce.
That's right. So guys, also on that questionnaire, we want to know, how did we do? Give us some feedback on that too. And we're good. We can take it. We're big kids. We're big boys and girls. So give us some real positive feedback, or give us some ideas, some things that you may want to see more of. Sean and I are looking forward to doing some more of these educational workshops. So give us some ideas there. But most importantly, guys, the financial risk, we want to help you avoid that. Kim mentioned earlier that we had a special offer for attending the webinar, and that is a written, comprehensive, personalized roadmap. It's going to outline to you in detail how you can mitigate and possibly eliminate some of the obstacles and risks that prevent you from having a happy and successful retirement. If you're concerned that maybe you may not have started soon enough, or if you're not sure you'll have enough money, this is the time to get those answers get those questions answered. Don't let the window of opportunity close you out.
That's
The
right.
roadmap is going to look at your cash flow and your expenses. It's going to identify some income gaps that you may have after looking at all your sources of income. It's going to give you an opportunity to run the numbers on a cash value life insurance plan. That plan that Sean was talking about, the numbers can look fantastic depending on how you're funding it and your age. So get the numbers to look at it and see if it's something for you. And most importantly, it's going to give you peace of mind. And if you're not ready, then would you rather know now that you're not ready, or would you rather find out later after you hit a dead end? So that comprehensive, personalized retirement road plan that's prepared by financial professionals, it's a $1,500 value. And we're offering it to you today as a special offer, complimentary. That means absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
Awesome.
Our team is committed. We have CPAs, estate attorneys, debt management, cash flow specialists, fiduciary investment advisors, and we're all partnered with you to create wealth and financial independence that will allow you to reach your goals. You just have to take the step. I think Kim has got some questions ready. So I am going to turn it over to Kim with all these questions.
All right, that's been great, guys. You've shared a lot of wonderful information, and it has prompted some questions. Now, some of the questions I'm looking at are pretty specific and individualized. I'll just give you a summary of some of the questions. One person looks like they had a life insurance policy, and at some point they felt or discovered that the monthly payments were accumulating to more than the value of the policy. So I don't know if you can speak to that, but their question is, how do you capitalize on having a life insurance policy? And if you can answer that quickly, we got about a handful more if we can try to squeeze those in before our hour is up. And
okay, yeah, I think that's a great question. It's really in how you structure the life insurance policy. Oftentimes these agents, and I'm one of these agents, they don't know how to structure it. And so they put you in with premiums just to get a sale, if you will, instead of really understanding what your needs are, what your goals are. Do you want more death benefit? Do you want more cash value to supplement your retirement? And so these things that we'll sit down with you and do a needs analysis and find out exactly where you are in your route. And then we can structure that policy for you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. There was one question that came up earlier, Joyce, when you were talking about the sequence of returns, and it said that the withdrawals was a little confusing. They asked, Jill took money out when she needed it. Were there any deposits? Do you want to just briefly summarize that case scenario that was presented?
That question. And yes, the little graph was a little confusing and lots of numbers and letters and a balloon over here and all of that. But in essence, a sequence of risk is timing of the market. So in that example, both Jill and Jill and Jack, I think it was Jill and Bill. Yep, thank you, yeah. Bill and Jill. They both had put in their retirement accounts, or had accumulated in their retirement accounts, $1 million. So the example was based on having a retirement portfolio that you maybe built over 20, 30 years. Now you have a portfolio that you're ready off of it to give you an income stream, right? So in both cases, they had accumulated $1 million, and now they're ready to pull $40,000 out a year to give income. We also used in that example, adjusting it for inflation. So the difference was when Bill retired, he retired and the stock market was at a high. So when he started pulling his money out, his money was making money while he was pulling it out. Jill, unfortunately, her timing was off. She retired 3 years later. When she retired, the market was at a low point. So when she started pulling her $40,000 out, the market was losing money. So what that shows us is that we can't time it. So the smart thing we want for income and vehicles to that up and down. The index product that Sean was talking about, indexing. So you stay steady instead of taking that roller coaster ride. But that's a great question.
Good
Okay,
question.
great. Thank you. Let's try to squeeze in maybe 2 more questions. I know I saw one going back to life insurance policies. What happens if you cannot secure a life insurance policy because of prior illness? Anybody want to address that briefly?
Yeah, I'll address that. If you can't get one of these particular policies based on a prior illness, there are several options that we can do. There are some guaranteed issues that we can get and actually can protect portions of your assets. So we could probably get you covered. The other thing is a lot of our clients are doing single premium annuities with long-term care, so that even if you have a precondition, you can get a lump sum distribution to help cover your long-term care, even if you have some type of illness. So again, that's worth a sit down just to kind of see where you are, what your needs are, and we can create a strategy. That's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. So, okay, one more question. This is on taxes. So even if you're retiring at age 62, will you be taxed? Or if so, can someone else carry them on their taxes? Or when should taxes be taken out of Social Security income? There's a lot in there, so that's probably a one-on-one, but if you guys want to hit on anything with that.
Yeah, what I would say, that's definitely a one-on-one, guys, because when you start talking about Social Security and other income and taxes, unfortunately, Social Security in many cases is going to be taxed, and it is a double taxation because yes, you have paid taxes on it. And that is why sitting down and having that customized plan done, because there may be strategies depending on your age, depending on if you're married or not, how you can structure so your Social Security does not get taxed as much. So that's a loaded question, and that's one where I definitely say, set up a 15-minute call, but really, you really probably just need to go ahead and take advantage of that,
Special offer
strategy. I mean, everyone should take advantage of it, but definitely because that question could be answered a variety of different ways.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for sharing that. Again, I know there's some other questions that were raised that we don't have time to get to, but again, please take advantage of that opportunity with, whether it's scheduling a 15-minute call or doing the full-fledged financial review so that you can help get that personalized retirement roadmap created for you. I want to thank Sean and Joyce tonight. You guys have been just a wealth of information and a great resource. So I thank you for sharing your time. If anyone still has the survey or response form still open, please go ahead and complete that and submit that. That will let them know if you want to take advantage of either of those options, whether it's for the 15-minute call or the special offer with the retirement roadmap that will be created for you. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure. We're going to sign off and say thank you and good night, but we will leave the webinar open for a couple more minutes just so you can complete that survey. Joyce or Sean, any quick closing remarks?
I too just want to thank you, for attending tonight. Like Sean mentioned, you could have been anywhere. You could have been doing some other things. I hope you found the information informative. I hope you found it inspiring enough to, if you're not quite where you want to be with your plan, that you're moved to take action and take advantage of what we talked about. And would love to come back and do some more of these things. I love teaming up with Sean.
Yeah, I love teaming up with you too, Joyce. and guys, thank you so much. This is awesome. And regardless of where you are on your route to retirement, take the necessary actions for that particular moment, and we can help you strategize. We want to help you strategize because you deserve a nice long retirement, and we can help you create that. Thank you again.
All right, so with that, we're gonna close out, and like I said, we will leave the webinar open for a couple more minutes. I'll play a little music in the background.